Winning Cures Everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in, Winning Cures Everything. It is the Tuesday, February 1st edition of the show. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we have a Super Bowl matchup. Chris, how you feel about Joey Burrow?
Yeah, it's pretty special what he's been able to do.
I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous is what it is. That whole thing is just absurd. I couldn't believe it. Obviously, I took the Chiefs last week. We'll get into all that here in just a minute. We will do our reactions, but there's a lot to talk about in the world of college football, in the world of the NFL. Before we start off with that, I'm going to read you an email that I got for Winning Cures Everything, right? This was, let's see, from a girl named Tatiana, okay? She said, I have recently co-authored a psychological study on the best sex positions for each zodiac sign. She said, I thought this study coincides nicely with the Chinese New Year and with Valentine's Day and may be of interest for your website. WinningCuresEverything.com, you think needs something from Dime Piece LA on the best sex positions for your zodiac sign?
Listen, I'm good.
I said, man, all right, so what is your what is your zodiac sign?
So my birthday falls in one of those weird places where it depends on which of the calendars you look at. But I'm either being November 22nd, so I'm either a Scorpio or the one that's in December, which shows you the amount of my knowledge of these things.
All right, we'll go with Scorpio. I think so. I'm a Capricorn. Mine's January 11th, and mine's very similar to the new calendar says it's something different. Whatever. So Scorpio for you, it says your best position is a helicopter. It says Scorpios are kinkier and nastier during sex. It says try the helicopter style this Valentine's with your partner. The woman bends on the bed while the giver penetrates facing the opposite direction in a hanging position, supported by his arms. What are we talking about? Capricorn mine's easy. Standing doggy. Very, very interesting stuff. I don't think that this is going to make it onto the website, but the fact that I got the email I thought was rather interesting. I said, man, I understand, we talk about it all the time when we bet, just spraying the board. Man, you're just trying to send this thing out to anybody to get any kind of, and hey, we talked about it. So cheers to them. But yeah, that surprised me today. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to start off the week, of course. Let's go ahead and start with our reaction stuff. All right. Okay. Bengals 27, Chiefs 24 in the AFC Championship game, and Arrowhead proved no match for the swag that was Joey Burrow. And good gracious with the Bengals. I mean, you want to talk about the way that they have gotten through these NFL playoffs. The last two ball games, they have intercepted 4 passes off deflections. The amount of luck that it takes to get those to go in your favor is one thing, but that defense has played lights out, man. And it's not just Joe Burrow, it's the whole team has seemingly taken on his persona. What they did in the second half to that Chiefs offense is absurd. They gave up 3 points after halftime and made a stop.
And listen, the Chiefs needed those 3 points to tie the game to take it to overtime.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they did not score for the whole 30 minutes. I mean, they kicked a field goal on the last play of the second half.
Weren't even in field goal range. They have one of the best field goal kickers in the game and never even got in field goal range. Not just didn't score.
Oh, it was just unbelievable. And of course, for the Bengals to get to where they needed to be, they needed a goal line stop at the end of the first half, which I understand going for it and playing aggressive football, et cetera. When you've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, yeah, you're going to take that opportunity. You think that you're going to be able to make something happen with 5 seconds left. You should be throwing in the end zone and make it a quick pass so that you've got an opportunity to kick a field goal if you don't get it. But to throw a little out pass like that, yeah, you would hope that Tyreek Hill could make a move on somebody. But
that's so much of their offense is just get the ball to Tyreek and let him do something.
Yeah, and no, don't get me wrong. I mean, he was awesome in the first half.
I will tell you this. I sent the message to our group before the game. I really thought these two teams were pretty even across the board, player for player wise. I honestly believe that. And the argument is where the separation is. The only place that I thought the Chiefs had a significant advantage was at coaching. And I actually think Andy Reid outcoached himself. I think Andy Reid got me. I think coaching is the reason they lost, because I think player for player on the field, guys made good plays, guys made bad plays. We got to remember this defense for Cincinnati. They did something pretty special. I don't think these things are luck things. They made Patrick Mahomes look really bad. Patrick Mahomes threw 1 interception this year. He threw 2 in this game.
Yeah. It is remarkable what they were able to do to him in the second half, because they could not get anything going. No. I mean, it was just when you look at the play-by-play. They scored the 3 touchdowns unanswered, and then they just stopped. I mean, I believe Parker at Stats of War on Twitter, I think he tweeted out that the Chiefs got like 99.96% of the available yards in the first half. The only yard that they did not get that was available to them was that last play of the first half.
Yeah.
That was it. Like, it's unbelievable. And you look at what they did coming out in the second half, the Bengals defense, Kansas City, 5 plays, 16 yards, punt. 5 plays, 17 yards, punt. 2 plays, 7 yards, interception. 3 plays, punt. 3 plays, punt. And then they had a 14-play, 49-yard drive that they had to kick a field goal on, that they were lucky to even get to attempt the field goal because Patrick Mahomes dropped the football.
That's right. No. And not only he drops the football there, but he drops the football in a place where only one offensive lineman was back there with him. And if that offensive lineman, if the ball doesn't fall right in front of that guy and he falls on it, that's ball game. They lose in regulation.
Yeah. The defensive coordinator for the Bengals is Lou Annarumo. And I hope I say that right, because I don't know that we've ever actually talked about him.
No, we haven't. The coaching job. So this is a little bit of an argument for patience, okay? Because along with I think 90% of the people that cover and talk and have thoughts about the NFL, all thought Zach Taylor is the weak link here. And maybe it's a thing where, at some point in time, you've got to develop talent. At some point in time, these guys got to learn your system. At some point in time, patience just has to play out. I don't know that I would have been that patient. I think going into this season, that team was really good. They addressed a couple of their weak spots the best they could with the assets that they had. And the weakest link I thought they had was that head coach.
Yeah.
And I obviously, win or lose in the Super Bowl, you can't say that anymore. You just can't.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about him being possibly one of the first to get fired this year.
Yeah. Nope.
At the beginning of the season.
My argument was, I think Joe and the surrounding cast there are too good. He's going to win just enough games to never get fired in Cincinnati, but I thought that was going to keep them from ever doing anything special.
Oh, yeah, because we know that
wrong. I was just wrong.
Yeah, that ownership group does not like to fire coaches. They don't make rash decisions.
If you can win 7-8 games a year, and then every 3 or 4 years make a run and make the playoffs or something like that,
and you don't even have to win in the playoffs.
No, you don't have to win. You just have to make it every, like I said, 4 or 5 years. Make a playoff berth, and you can keep a job there for 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was just insane. Lou Annarumo had not been a defensive coordinator until Zach Taylor brought him into the Bengals. He was a defensive backs coach at Marshall. He was a defensive backs coach at Purdue when Joe Tiller was there. He was a defensive backs coach for the Dolphins up until 2017. He was a DBs coach for the Giants in 2018. And then Zach Taylor called him and asked if he wanted to be my defensive coordinator, and he's been that for the Bengals for the last 3 seasons, and the defense has really, really played well this season and continued to do so. And I mean, they got a rookie kicker that is lights out. Evan McPherson is awesome because he effectively won them the game again, and all of them seem to take on the confidence of their quarterback. Like, this is a Joe Burrow-led team, and they are awesome. So I didn't think it would happen, but here we are. They are on their way to the Super Bowl. Were there any plays that stood out for you or anything that we haven't brought up about this one?
No, I mean, there's a whole lot that happened in this game. You know, I would like to address the fact that, once again, I told you the reason I thought the Bengals could win this game and probably would win this game is at some point in time, it's a numbers thing. Teams don't just go to the Super Bowl over and over and over again. We have to stop looking at this league, this sport, through the eyes of what Tom and Bill did.
Well, they didn't even go every year. I mean, really.
Well, Tom played 22 years and he went to 10.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the best
at
ever
some point in time, yeah, they kind of did go every other year.
Well, yes, right? Yes. But what I'm saying is they didn't go every year, which is what we were looking at with Mahomes. I mean, it had been 2 straight. They had been to the AFC. They've now been to the AFC title game 4 straight times.
Well, I mean, the Patriots went to AFC title games all the time, and that's fine. They didn't win them all, and that's okay. My thought is at some point in time, you got to realize this is a team. Mike Wilbon, I've heard him say it years ago, or not years ago, but maybe last year. He was just done with just anointing the Chiefs as just, the next Patriot, and that's the problem. They're a dynasty of one. Okay. Yes. Aaron Rodgers, everyone thought his whole career would just be, the next Peyton, the next Tom. There's not going to be another Tom ever. Well, and we need to stop that as the standard. Okay.
But look at what the Patriots did and how they built that dynasty. And it was not built on Tom Brady. Like, he was a key piece of it. But that dynasty was built with defense. That's how they won a ton of their games.
The first 3 were. The first 3, but remember, they won the first 3. They went to 7 other Super Bowls after that.
Agreed. Okay? You can't tell me.
Not a single one of those other Super Bowls were won or lost because of defense.
Oh, I beg to differ. The one where they beat the Rams in 2017.
Maybe the Rams. Just because it was a low-scoring game doesn't mean the defense won that thing.
Oh, that was pure. Like, that was a defensive team. That was a great team.
But both teams shut everybody down. So if the game is played to a stalemate and somebody wins at the end,
well, then,
because the other team goes for the drive, then they win the game.
Agreed. But either way, what I'm saying is the way that the Patriots were able to do it over and over again, like, this Chiefs defense has been mediocre at best.
Well, I don't know. I thought the Chiefs. Oh no! I thought the Chiefs defense played great Sunday.
Oh, they did on Sunday, but for the duration of the season, they have been
they were up and
mediocre.
They were up and down. They were the worst defense in the league for like 7 weeks, and then they put together like 4 or 5 week stretch of being one of the top 5 defenses in the league. But if you go back and you look, I pointed this out. All those teams that they looked really good against defensively were all garbage football teams.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They are mediocre defense, but they looked good on Sunday.
Yeah, they looked really good against a good offense, against a real good offense.
Yes, they did.
But Patrick Mahomes is the reason they lost this game. Patrick Mahomes was bad, okay? Yeah. Flat out bad.
Well, that's the problem, right? When you rely on a guy to play hero ball all the time, the plays that he's trying to make, you can't duplicate that week in and week out. It's almost impossible. So you have to have something more, which is what I was saying about the Patriots. You got to have more than just that guy trying to fling sidearm passes all the time.
No, and that's what I would tell you. That's what I appreciate and like about the Bengals is they are more. They really are a team.
Yes,
Joe. Everybody has taken on his persona and his swagger and his confidence, and that's all great. But at the end of the day, they really are a good team.
Yes, they are 100%. Defense, by the way, gave up 375 total yards. The Bengals defense did, and the Chiefs only gave up 359. So, that's 66 plays to 67 plays. The Bengals had 1 fewer, but I mean, it was close. 5.4 yards per play to 5.6. I mean, it was a hell of a game. Let's talk about the late one on Sunday. The Rams get the win over the 49ers, 20-17, and there's only so much of Jimmy G that you can rely on, I think. He wasn't awful for the entire game, but when you absolutely had to have it, he made just a boneheaded decision at the end of that game and cost them a shot at the Super Bowl. Bottom line, I mean, that play was as bad of a decision as I have ever seen. And it's not like the guy wasn't open or whatever, but when you are in the process of getting sacked, you cannot make one of those crazy. You're not Patrick Mahomes. Let's say that. I mean, it's just that the way that the game ended absolutely drove me insane because we had such good things to say about Jimmy Garoppolo, and that is, I believe, how his legacy will be left in San Francisco because I don't think they're going to sign him again. But we'll see. I mean, obviously, you never know what's going to happen. But I would imagine somebody somewhere is going to pay him more money than the 49ers will.
Well, yeah, I think so too. They've released that he's going to have surgery on his thumb, today or maybe not today, but he's going to have the surgery. Yeah. That came out today. What that will affect, I don't know. So, I think he'll be somewhere else. The 49ers will have a different quarterback. I don't think it'll be Trey Lance.
I don't think so either. I don't think he's ready. And I think it's the main reason why the Packers are still so gung-ho about keeping Aaron Rodgers is their young guy that they drafted in the first round is nowhere close to ready. Like, he's nowhere close. He may have a ton of potential, but you can't even put him out there and field a competitive team. No. Like, we already saw that. Is
that's why I do think that they're a trigger man away from being real good. I mean, we've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen this team with Jimmy G make the Super Bowl and make an NFC title game. And if they had a capable, competent quarterback, I don't even need them to have a great quarterback. I just need them to have a quarterback that won't make mistakes. Then I think that they can get over that hump and they could win it all. I think they're that good.
Oh, most certainly. Jimmy G in this game, 16 out of 30 passing, 232 yards, 2 TDs, and then he had, of course, the maybe one of the worst interceptions that you can possibly. I mean, it was so bad, just so bad. Rushing in this game, Deebo Samuel led the team in rushing yards and led the team in receiving yards. He had 7 carries for 26 yards. He had 4 receptions for 72 yards. The fact that they were not able to get the run game going at all surprised me at least a little bit. I understand that the Rams have an incredible defensive front, etc., but I thought that they would be able to get something else going. The fact that they were up 17-7 late in this game was a bit surprising to me, really, considering that they had not been able to get the running game going at all day. So, cheers to Matt Stafford for getting this thing done. I mean, obviously it wasn't all him. The defense played a large role in this, but Cam Akers, had 13 carries, 48 yards. This was they didn't make the mistakes that almost cost them against Tampa Bay, and they found a way to come back instead of having a team come back on them. How did you feel about LA's performance?
I worry about their defensive front against the Bengals, but judging them not looking forward going to the next game of what I've just seen the last couple of games, this team plays sloppy. They have this. They seem like a team that is like set up with. I know this is going to be like an insult. I don't mean of stars and scrubs. I think Matt Stafford, when Cooper Kupp or Higbee or Odell are wide open, he hits them every time, and his stats look really great. When they're covered at all, and he has to make a great throw, he has not looked great. Yeah. And he has turned the ball over, and he has played sloppy. I wish the NFL would change the rule of the interception, not because things didn't work out, a fumble, not because things didn't work out the way I wanted them to in this game or anything of that matter. I won my bet, which is awesome, so that's fine. Doesn't matter. But the rule of the fumble with a quarterback, just because your arm is going forward doesn't mean you're throwing the football, okay? And in that play where his arm went forward and then he closed his hand and the ball came out. Like, you look in his eyes, he fumbled the football. He dropped the football. He was not trying to throw the ball. And it wasn't a thing where the ball slipped out because he was throwing it forward. He had squeezed it. It started coming out of his hands. You look in his eyes. That's a fumble. I don't care that his arm was moving forward. That's a fumble. And he's just reckless with the football. He makes big mistakes in big time situations. This game, he made big plays, but we knew the weakness of the 49ers was their secondary. We knew that all along. And Cooper Kupp and Odell and anybody else got wide open all day long.
Yeah.
Okay. They still didn't put a ton of points up. They still had to play from behind. They still struggled to get points. I think the Bengals defense is going to be a lot better from top to bottom. Okay. They don't have the pass rush that the 49ers have, but they're a way better overall defense.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. What did you think of the decision when San Francisco was up 17-14 to punt it? You know, 4th and 2, they had a penalty. It was delay a game, et cetera. But they effectively chose to punt the ball there.
I would say the delay of game was because they punted. They wanted to punt. They did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's easy to see that it didn't work out, and I don't like it. Kyle trusted his defense more than he trusted his offense. And I understand that from seeing the offense, knowing that the offense couldn't run the football and knowing to get those 2 yards, you couldn't put the ball in Jimmy's hands. You had to run it. And it wasn't close enough for just a dive up the middle or a quarterback sneak or something. You had to get 2 yards. You got to run a real football play, and they struggled to get those. So I do understand our defense has been great all game. All I need them to do is to be great one more time. And I understand what Kyle was thinking. I don't know if I agree with it, but mainly because I just don't like playing the game scared.
Yeah, that's what drives me insane. If you look early on, they got that first interception. They got the interception on the second drive for the Rams. They go down 6 plays at 37 yards. They have to punt at the Rams 40. Then you score a touchdown. You kick a field goal at the end of the first half. You go into the next half, 8 plays, 40 yards, and you have to punt from the Rams 42. I understand that. It's 4th and 9, 4th and 6, stuff like that. I understand it. It's just you have driven the ball 40-plus yards on both of those. And then on that one that we just talked about, they drove the ball. There was another one, 6 plays, 36 yards. They had to punt from the 50. They were able to move the football a little bit and could never get it exactly where they needed. Like, they probably should have had more points on the board if they could have trusted their offense. And they couldn't trust the offense to really get anything done. It was almost like they struggled to move the football at all, and yet they were still moving the football. Like, that's the crazy part about it, is that they couldn't trust their offense, and yet the offense was at least swapping field position, right? So it's strange to see. Could you imagine Kyle Shanahan with somebody that he trusts under center?
It's going to look different, but the whole game plan will look different. Like, I think the reason he wants Lance and he wants a quarterback like that is because if the quarterback can run, he believes he can build an offense that's almost impossible to stop if he can run and throw. If he can have what he had with 1 year of a healthy RG3 until RG3 wasn't healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, because that offense was awesome.
I think that's all he wants. And he can design it all around that. Is Trey Lance ever going to be that? Man, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't either.
And I can't kill the guy because we just didn't see much of him this year, but what we saw of him wasn't good. And okay, so can he get better? Sure. We started the conversation. I started the conversation of today's conversation talking about patience at the head coaching position. We might be in a world where these guys are picked so early that they do need to sit for a couple of years. Let's remember Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. Okay. And he ended up being the phenom that we all see. Had he started a bunch of games in the middle of the season and looked like a rookie and looked bad, maybe we're judging him and killing him, and then he surprises us.
Yeah.
But I don't know,
I mean, obviously, we'll see. He's still a rookie. He played FCS ball, and he basically has not played in 2 full seasons, right?
Right.
I mean, the COVID year was a really weird year. He's only played 1 real year of football, so he might just be incredibly wet behind the ears, right?
Super green.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But obviously, he's not ready yet, so they are going to have to.
I don't think he's going to be. If he shows up next year and he's a fair to middling quarterback, okay, if he's somewhere ranked in the 16th to 13th best quarterbacks in the NFL, then we all panicked too soon. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But if he doesn't play next year at all, man, you spent 3 first-round picks, and all these other guys got their rookies starting. And by the second year, they're definitely starting.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
now,
absolutely.
if they go make a move for a Rodgers or a Brady or something like that, then he ain't starting, because those guys aren't coming and then playing second fiddle to some kid.
You see who the leading tackler was for the Rams? Eric Weddle had 9 tackles in this game. 4 solo. He had 1 tackle for loss. I mean, a little surprising that he was able to come in there and knock that out. I mean, he's played in multiple games now, but yeah, I mean, he's been awesome for them. So yeah, looking just at the box score and everything else, this was an interesting game. Matt Stafford, 31 out of 45, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Should be very interesting to see. I don't know that we've had a more likable matchup of quarterbacks in the Super Bowl in quite some time.
It's real interesting. So I listen to a lot of different people give their opinions on all these shows. I listen to all the popular shows everybody else listens to. It's really funny that all the cocky guys kind of get hated pretty quickly. Joe seems to be likable and cocky. I was curious how this is going to work out for him. Does he become like Patrick Mahomes, where Patrick Mahomes was super likable, and then after he won, he kind of just, and I can't speak for the collective, all the people in the world, but I find him super annoying. I find him, just
well,
really
I think
fake.
a lot of once you've won so much, you kind of become the villain, right?
Maybe, but I mean, so obviously I didn't feel that way with Tom, but even in other sports, I don't have that. Well, this guy wins all the time, and so I hate him thing. I hated Rodgers. Rodgers didn't win all the time. Hell, he didn't win anything. Ben Roethlisberger didn't win for 15 years. Still hated his ass. I don't know that it's just they win all the time, so I don't like them.
There's something with Joe Burrow where it is he's still considered the underdog, even though he won a college national championship and all that. His backstory.
So the thing I like about it is he hates that.
Oh yeah,
he wants to be seen as you should all be afraid of me.
Yes, and he's still
and
considered
nobody
an underdog.
is.
No. They should be, but they're not. No, they definitely should be. I mean, he's absolutely ridiculous. It amazes me every time he gets out on the football field. I don't know how he does it. I still have no idea.
So the beauty of this, and I talked about this in our group text, I'll say it here. In the conversation before the game, now neither one of these quarterbacks played amazing. Okay,
right.
Joe has a couple of escape plays that are just freakish, but outside of that, it's not like he had the greatest game the world has ever seen. In this game, before the game started, when we were breaking down, I was talking about how I thought these two teams were evenly matched. One of the guys in the group, I won't call him out, made the point that, but Patrick looks like just the greatest football player of all time. He looks like he's playing at a level, that and he referred back to 2019 Patrick. Yeah. He just couldn't lose. And my argument and my counterpoint is he's playing really, really good. His ceiling is incredibly high, but I think we've seen his ceiling.
Yeah.
And the thing that got me excited is we haven't come close to seeing Joe's.
No. I mean, what is this, third season? No, this is only his second year.
His second season, and he didn't play his whole first year because he went out with
got hurt.
He blew his knee out in the middle of last year. And so this is the first season where he had a full season with the team. And it's his. And he's healthy. And he hasn't been great, and he's had his flaws. He's had some games where he's amazing, but it's just one of those situations where we haven't come close to seeing what this guy can do when he can get cooking.
I mean, he's unbelievable. He's just unbelievable. Let me go ahead and do the rundown right quick. The podcast reads for this episode, of course, the website, winningcureseverything.com. You can find everything you need to know about us over there. Make sure that you go ahead and check out the podcast if you have not already. If you're watching this show on YouTube, first off, we appreciate you. Give us a like if you would so kindly, and share the show out. Tell your friends. But the podcast, of course, you can review it at a ton of different places now, apparently. It used to just be Apple Podcasts, and you can still do it there. We would appreciate that. But Spotify also will allow you to give 5 stars and leave a review and all that good stuff. So go ahead and do that for us, and listen on whatever your favorite podcast app is. Along with that, the YouTube channel, still constantly growing. We're up well over 5,500 subscribers now. The next goal is 7,500. So we're going to keep this thing going. Hopefully you guys will help us out with that. Share it out. Tell your friends. Comment, like, all that good stuff. And make sure that you are subscribed. Hit the notification bell. It lets you know when we are going live, etc. Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter. Chris is at Chris B. Giannini. You can see it on your screen there. I am at Gary WCE. And then, of course, the show at Winning Cures. The show is brought to you by BetUS. It's America's online premier sportsbook. You can find it at BetUS.com. Type that into your browser. It is the best place for you to go and place a sports betting wager. Very easy to do. There's a link in the description for that. Tons of great bonuses, etc. And, of course, I host the BetUS College Football Show. And now I'm just a host for BetUS TV. That'll start up here in a couple of weeks or whatever. Don't know the full details on what the schedule will be like, etc. But going to have a ton of great guests and all that good stuff. So go ahead and check it out over at betustv.com. There is a link in the description for that. Now, we have some news nuggets that we got to get to, not just games to discuss, but news that's going on around the world of college football. We'll hit on those first. Let's talk about what's going on with Auburn football. Austin Davis, the offensive coordinator for the Auburn Tigers, formerly the quarterback's coach of the Seattle Seahawks, has decided to step down as the OC at Auburn. And he released a statement, and I'm not going to read the statement verbatim, but he said basically that this is a personal decision. He is going to step away, spend more time with his family, etc. He's only 30 years old. This was his first coordinator job. He has not worked in college football up until he worked for them for the last month or so. But this was incredibly surprising. So Brian Harsin will now have his third offensive coordinator in really his first calendar year on the job, and he's already on his second defensive coordinator. That's 5 coordinators in 1 year. I don't know necessarily that this has anything to do with what is going on with Brian Harsin at Auburn, but you have to imagine that there is something happening that people don't like or don't feel like they can succeed there, or something strange is going on. Now, Gus Malzahn used to rotate offensive coordinators here and there, right? He lost Chip Lindsey to a head coaching job, and then he brought in Chad Morris, and he brought there were a bunch of different things going on with Gus Malzahn, but he always maintained either the defensive side or the offensive side for at least several years. This one feels different. Chris, what are your thoughts on what's going on with these Auburn coordinator hires?
I'm very if the OC stepping away really doesn't get another job, doesn't take another job, and they genuinely do go spend time with their family, then we have to take them on their word at that.
Right.
Okay. But if this is an Urban Meyer, I'm going to go spend time with my family, and then 6 months later, I just have another job. Then I think we've got a different situation. It's strange that these coordinators are stepping down before they have another job. I've never seen that before. That could become a trend with people now. But I find that to be weird because when Derek Mason did it, like we all kind of speculated about him going to Oklahoma State. But usually you find out they're leaving one job when they get the other job. And it's both being reported basically at the same time. And that was I'm leaving and now I have a new job. This is very much because I didn't know the part about him stepping down for personal reasons, all this stuff. I just thought he stepped away. And I thought that's really strange. We've never had this before. And two coordinators do it and they do it to the same head coach at the same school. You know, that doesn't make sense. Then you learn about the part about, it's his personal time. That, man, I don't want to call a guy like that. I don't know a guy.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. It's not like he's a well-known OC that, you know, I'd followed his career for a while and whatever knew who he was. But it's one of those things that I need to look at this through the scopes of 18 months from now. I'll give you an opinion on what I actually think about it.
Or it might even be within a few months if he is to take another job, right?
Well, no, if he takes another job before next year, like if he's coaching for somebody else next calendar year, then then I have all the information I needed. Okay. And my opinion on that. So I'm going to work from that premise. Okay. I don't think this is anything other than, guys, he got there, he accepted the job, he got there, and he realizes this is a sinking ship. He, from whatever reason, believes Brian Harsin's not going to be the coach after this year. And if I stay here, I'm just going to get fired.
And it could look bad on his resume, et cetera, right?
So it's better for me to walk away now because I know I'm going to have to coach through a season where the head coach doesn't have the support of the big players involved or the administration.
Yeah. Let me read you what his statement was.
That would be my assumption of what I think is probably happening if he takes another job.
That's it. Yes, 100%. Here's what he said in his statement. All right. The last week has been difficult for me as I've made the decision to step away from college football, or from coaching football, excuse me. Auburn University and Coach Harsin have been tremendous through this whole process. I'm grateful for the opportunity that was presented to me from a coaching standpoint, and equally as important, the way Coach Harsin has handled my current situation. My decision to resign is 100% based on personal reasons. After more than a decade in the NFL with the daily grind as a player and coach, I've realized how much I miss my family and my desire to spend more time with them. While I need to step away from coaching, I can't say enough about the first-class way I was welcomed into the Auburn family and the way this football program is run with a championship mindset and a focus on developing these young men into winners on and off the field. So that's, if all of this is true, if he doesn't take another job, if he's really stepping away and taking a year or so to figure out, hey, what do I really want to do, then okay. I can totally get that. He is really young, and he jumped from playing football at Southern Miss to the NFL to coaching in the NFL to now coaching here. I understand. It can be a lot, right? Because there is no real downtime when you're doing that. But on the other side, and for all the people that are on Twitter that were jumping back and forth and said, he was at Seattle, and then he comes down to Auburn and realized, oh, crap, I'm going to have to live in Alabama. That was not it. This guy's from Meridian, Mississippi. He played at Southern Miss. It's Auburn is I'm not going to say a step up, but it's very similar, right? He has been down there. He knows what's going on down there.
Living in the South your entire life, moving to Seattle would have been a culture shock.
Yes.
Now, he could get to Seattle and really like living in a big city like that, and that's fine. He could enjoy that. But he would have never accepted the Auburn job because he knew what this was.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know where they go next. I don't know what his connections are. Harsin, I mean, he's been around a lot of guys, but he's going to be hiring his third offensive coordinator in about 13 months, and that's rough. That's rough, especially after replacing the DC.
So part of his statement, I hate it. You were there for 6 weeks. Please don't talk like that all these people are, running a professional program and this is not, I'm not trying to shit on the Auburn program. I'm kind of the Auburn program defender here, but you were there for 6 weeks, dude. You have no idea what these people are working towards or what their motives are, or, how
they hadn't even coached a practice.
How class of an organization they run. They could be all of those things that you said they are, but you damn sure don't know that. And you're the last person that we should be listening to about saying it. You're trying to say nice things because you're in a tough spot where you're leaving a job very, very quickly. Now, if this guy goes and opens a camp or does something like that, well, because that is not working 24/7, 365, and that's a different deal, then I'm probably going to take him at his word that he just realized, man, I don't want to recruit. I don't want to, the grossness of college football, I just don't want to be a part of. That's fine. Yeah. I got to trust him at his word on those things because I have no reason not to. If he's got another job in the next, 6 to 12 months, then I'll,
or before next football season. How's that?
He goes in the bag of liars, which 90% of these coaches are. And you just never can trust anything that he says again.
Yeah, that's my initial guess was he may have gotten down here in the middle of all the recruiting madness and realized this is dumb. I didn't have to do any of this in the NFL. I didn't have to talk to 17, 18-year-old kids.
I can't imagine anybody thinking the college game is better from a coaching perspective or administrative perspective than the NFL. Like, I just can't. The idea of having to go into a house and sell yourself to a kid and convince them to come play for you and your mini golf course. Like, I feel like all of these guys really just want to hang themselves half the time when they get home. Like, I really do. Like, you can say all they want. Listen, when I watch the videos of Brian Kelly and Nick Saban dancing with these kids, that's great. I heard Steve Spurrier talking about when he was recruiting a kid, like he played that Dance Dance Revolution game in their house because that's what they were doing.
Yeah, that's what they're into.
Like, I know these guys. These are I know these style of people.
Yes.
Okay. These are hardcore, known as general assholes, CEO, tough, serious people. Knowing that they have to do that to get talent, just knows that they just want to go home and hang themselves.
Oh, yes. Oh, 100%.
They just hate that part of their job.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. So the whole thing is so dumb. Let's talk about Ole Miss for a minute. We have a new number one in the transfer portal rankings, at least as far as transfer recruiting goes. And Lane Kiffin is the portal king. Did you see what he shared on Twitter on Monday, whatever it was?
Yeah, anybody who wants to openly and knowingly compare themselves to Joey Exotic, I like Lane, and I like Lane's antics, and you know this. You know how much of a fan of his I am.
Yeah.
Listen, he makes fun of Brian Kelly for being cringe. That's pretty cringe, dude.
It's definitely that. It is definitely that. All right, so here's what they have done, and I'm just going to go through some of them. They got Ladarius Tennyson, a safety from Auburn. They got Jordan Watkins, who's a wide receiver from Louisville. They got Mason Brooks, who is a 4-star offensive tackle out of Western Kentucky. Isheem Young, 3-star safety out of Iowa State. And then most recently, and the biggest ones here, they have picked up Jackson Dart, who we talked about on the show, I believe, last week, USC quarterback. That's the big one. He's a 5-star. I think he was number 3 in the transfer portal, maybe number 2, if I remember right. Michael Trigg, who's a 4-star tight end from USC. They also got J.J. Pegues, who's a 4-star tight end out of Auburn. And they just picked up Jared Ivey, who's a 4-star edge rusher out of Georgia Tech, who, I mean, is a top 20 kind of guy. Lane Kiffin is basically rebuilding Ole Miss. This is not reloading. He's reloading Ole Miss, not rebuilding. This is not something that we are used to seeing from Oxford. What Lane Kiffin is doing right now, they lost the defensive coordinator. They lost the offensive coordinator. They lost the possible first-round NFL draft pick quarterback. They lost both of their starting running backs, and yet they also brought in Zach Evans, who's a 5-star running back out of TCU. Like, what they have done so far, this is the SEC West is just brutal because Ole Miss, for the majority of the past decade, 2 decades, whatever, is supposed to be the also-ran in this division. You have already got Alabama and Texas A&M and LSU and Auburn, and now you've got Mississippi State giving people fights. You got Arkansas giving people fights, and not just fights, but like these are teams and coaches and programs that believe that they should be going to Atlanta as well. This is a deep, deep division, probably the best in all of college football, and Ole Miss is continuing to do crazy things. We've talked about Lane maybe not wanting to be there, but just because he doesn't want to be there doesn't mean he's not going to do the job well. He is doing a killer job.
This shows growth, and this shows maturity, and this shows the ability to solve problems. Okay.
Oh, yes.
They didn't recruit very well, and they don't have a lot of talent, but the transfer portal helps with that. That I know that everyone sees, a star player leave an Ohio State and go to Alabama, and you just say, oh, well, thanks for the transfer portal. Alabama's just going to get better. Well,
it's not just Alabama.
It's not just Alabama. Like, Ole Miss is significantly better today than they were yesterday.
Yeah. And the same thing helped with LSU, right? So LSU with Brian Kelly and USC, who is now number 3 in the portal, but it'll probably be number 1 if Caleb Williams picks. But regardless, like new coaches that come in, whether it's second, third year, whatever, you can rebuild. We saw it with Mel Tucker last year.
Mel Tucker. That's the guy you point to. That's the first person that said, we thought they had no chance because they had no talent. We knew the amount of talent they had. We didn't pay attention to all the transfers that they brought in because we, for decades, worked under the premise that transfers just aren't going to win anything for you. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a reason they were transferring. And then we saw Joe Burrow, and then we saw Justin Fields, and we've seen these guys take over and be dominant. And so, it's just one of those things where it can solve a lot of problems fast. What it's going to do, it's going to shorten that leash on coaching jobs. So these coaches are getting bigger, longer contracts. Now, we talked about that. The contracts are getting blown through the roof. They're no longer 4-year deals. And they didn't bump from 4 to 6-year deals. They went from 4 to 8 or 4 to 10. Okay. And that's where we're at now. But the expectation is for you to win, maybe not year 1, but by year 2, we're competing. And with the transfer portal, there's no reason we shouldn't be.
Agreed. And it's not just these big name programs that I've brought up with Ole Miss and LSU and USC. We saw the same thing with Western Kentucky, where the offense had completely tailored off, and the transfer portal allowed them to bring in an offensive coordinator from the FCS level and also bring his quarterback and like 3 of the receivers along with him and a couple of offensive linemen. Like, you can do that. We just saw Jake Dickert, the head coach at Washington State, do that with Incarnate Word's offensive coordinator and their quarterback, Cam Ward, who nobody really knew a lot about him early on, and we got 1 year of him, and everybody thinks he is going to be an absolute superstar. So you find a way to kind of rebuild your offense that way. There are ways that you can completely flip one side of the ball or the other, or both sides, as we saw with Michigan State. You can find a way to do it, and Ole Miss is certainly taking advantage of that. Let's talk about NFL to close out the rest of it. Over the weekend, we have not gotten a chance to talk about this yet, but on Saturday, Adam Schefter shared out a report from him and one of the other insiders at ESPN that Tom Brady is going to retire. And you see that report, and it's plastered over all of the SEC Big 12 basketball games, et cetera, going on in college basketball. And they break into every show at halftime. They break into every studio show, and they're interviewing Schefter and interviewing other people, and they're talking about, oh, yeah, Tom Brady is going to announce his retirement, and da-da-da. And then you start to get a few things where, all right, well, Tom's dad said he's not retiring. And then you start to hear a couple of things about Tom Brady has reached out to the Bucs, and he has told them, I haven't made up my mind.
I'm not close to making a decision.
This is, if you are Adam Schefter, I understand standing by your sources and whatnot, and if you get that information, I understand having to roll with it. And it's not just Schefter, right? There were other people that attached their names to this. Ian Rappaport at the NFL Network has some of the same sources, and he said the same thing. Schefter was the first, though. If you miss on this, I don't know that you can come back from that.
Nope.
This is maybe the greatest NFL player that has ever played.
It is the greatest NFL player to ever play.
And to mess up the retirement announcement,
yep.
I don't know how Schefter comes back from that.
So my argument is this. This guy's my hero. Okay. Yeah. He's and you, if you don't like Tom, if you spent your entire life hating him, that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't negate what he's done. Okay. This is the most important player in the NFL. All right. And for you to tweet out his ending like it's a goddamn strength and conditioning hire for the Jets is an insult, and it's a piece of shit move. I want to know, because I've asked this question before, when these guys do this, how does it benefit you for you to tell the world what this person wants to tell the world? Haven't they earned the right to tell the story themselves? Haven't we gotten there?
I would think so.
Okay. And what does it benefit you? How does it get ESPN more money? How does it get you more money and more influence at all? And so I hope to God that it burns him. And I hope that he loses his job, or at least gets knocked down a whole bunch of fucking pegs. Okay.
Well, we've had him miss on some stories already this year.
And you're talking about big, important things. Nothing has been this important. And also, him moving on affects nobody. This is not like, I need to get this scoop, I need to get this story because somebody else is going to get it. No. Everybody knows every year could be Tom's last, and everybody already has all their prepackaged stuff ready to go for when Tom hangs it up. Okay? So this is not a thing where we need to be first because then we're going to get all the eyeballs and we're going to get all the credit. No, everybody already has their packages already ready to go. Yeah. Okay. Everybody has everything prepared for this already. Okay. And so you don't need to be first. It doesn't benefit you. It doesn't get you one extra Twitter follower. It doesn't get you anything extra. You just take something that's really important and you bastardize it. You make it worthless. You make it meaningless.
So they did say on Saturday that they were standing by the report, et cetera, et cetera. And if you go look at ESPN.com right now, there's not a thing on the front page for the NFL about this.
Well, I've never been more wanting of somebody to be wrong in my life, because you know I hate this stuff and I don't understand its value.
Yeah, I don't get the retirement value, right? I don't, like, I understand it's a big story if Tom Brady were to retire. What I don't understand is why you have to be the source or the newsbreaker on that. Why not let him tell his story the way that he wants to? And obviously, we're recording this on Monday afternoon. There's supposed to be a new Tom Brady podcast, the Let's Go podcast, released this evening. Maybe he says something about it in there. Who knows? But
what? This is my problem. What benefit did it give for you to do this? You're taking something that's actually important news, and you're just throwing it out there like it's the same old bullshit news you put out anyway.
Yes.
You know? Like, this is not the equivalency of, is Trent Williams going to start or not?
No, not even close.
Like this is not the same thing. This affects nobody, and that affects greatly how people would view the upcoming game. Okay? This doesn't affect anyone.
I'm looking.
So I hope he comes back. I hope you're called on the carpet, and I hope that you've burned sources. And I hope that those people that have trusted you in the past stop trusting you. Because you can't be trusted with important information.
Yeah,
there's a right way to give this information out, and there's a wrong way to give it out. And this is not one of those things where people just need to read while they're sitting on the shitter going through Twitter. Okay?
Yeah.
This is an important story.
This is the most important
figure in your fucking sport.
To tweet it out the way that he did. Here's a tweet that he did from just about 7 hours before we recorded this. Jaguars are interviewing former Raiders head coach Rick Bisaccia today for their head coaching job, per sources. Like, that's what he did on Saturday.
That's how you just informed the world of the greatest football player of all time's career ending.
I mean, it's
with the exact same tact that you just named. This team is interviewing a coach. Same news, same everything. if you think those two pieces of information are the exact same and should be treated the same, you are a huge part of the problem, and I would like you to not have your job. Now, I don't get to make that decision, but I would like him to lose his employment because of that.
So on January 28th,
I'd like Twitter to throw him off the tweet. I'd like Twitter to throw him off their platform for misinformation. If Tom plays one snap next year, I would like him to be thrown off. Listen, if we're going to get rid of misinformation, it can't just be political misinformation, all right? You fucked up my Saturday, and you ruined what is going to be the greatest retirement announcement of all time. Okay?
Agree.
You ruined it.
On January 28th, he tweeted out, Giants hiring former Bills OC Brian Daboll as their next head coach, which we're going to talk about in a second, per sources. And he did a couple more things. And then on Saturday morning, Tom Brady is retiring from football after 22 extraordinary seasons, multiple sources tell Jeff Darlington and me. More coming on ESPN.com.
It's the first time I've ever seen him tag another writer in a story. It's just not something he does, which is why I've hated him for a long time.
No. Here's the reason why I did it. He tagged somebody else because he didn't want to be the only one linked to this in case it was wrong.
Well, if it ends up being wrong and it's one of the reasons, and that's like the only time he tagged somebody else, that's shitty because that means he knows it's wrong.
Yeah, that's what I thought on Saturday.
But he doesn't care about being right. He just cares about being first. That's all this man ever cares about. And I know that he's a nerd on ESPN, so I look like a bully for hating him. Okay,
I think there's a lot of people.
For some reason, if somebody's a nerd, if somebody's a geek, they also can't be an asshole. Yeah, you're wrong about that, by the way. Go down to the local store. I'm not going to throw their name out in Memphis that fixes computers. Ain't nothing but nerds in there. 100% of those people own the spectrum. All right, of something. Okay, and every one of them is a slimy, sharky piece of shit. They're going to fuck you as much as they can on fixing everything. They're going to charge as much money as they possibly can. That's just on that line between I'm going to pay for this because you're just enough under the price of buying a new one.
Yeah.
Don't think that because they've got glasses on and they're nerds that they're nice people. Okay,
no, they're smart.
No, they have the ability to be an asshole just like anybody else.
You 100%
no different
right.
than that. The sleazy car dealer.
You know how many Twitter followers Adam Schefter has?
3 million.
9 million.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Blew my mind. Like 3 million, I could totally understand. 9 million, I'm like, what? I mean, that's insane.
No. And he can't be trusted with important news. He is to be trusted with bullshit news that nobody cares about. Yeah, Josh McDaniels became the new Raiders coach. Woo fucking who? Nobody cares.
Speaking of, let's move into that. We'll wrap up the show with these two. The Raiders hired Josh McDaniels. I mean, I didn't expect this. I kind of thought McDaniels was sticking around in New England to be the next guy under Belichick or to take over for Belichick. And instead, I mean, is this purely because they have Hunter Renfrow on the roster and he wants to go coach Hunter Renfrow?
No, I don't understand, Josh. Maybe he's gotten hints or words that Bill's just nowhere near retirement.
And maybe so. I mean,
being the heir apparent, which is weird to me. Like, I feel like at some point in time, Bill, what do you have to like?
What else do you have?
Every year that goes on, like you kind of hurt your legacy. But I don't know.
It's strange. I would imagine Bill O'Brien will be the next offensive coordinator at the Patriots.
If he's not named a head coach,
he could still be named the head coach.
He's certainly interviewing for the what's the job that's still open?
The Dolphins, Texans,
not the
Texans.
Dolphins and Jags. He interviewed for the Dolphins job.
Okay, and then of course there's the Vikings job as well.
Consideration.
So. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Who knows what ends up happening with Bill O'Brien? But going back to McDaniels, why you would choose to take the Raiders job after not taking, and the Colts job was several years ago. You still had Tom Brady as your quarterback, etc. Maybe he feels like, because the offense for the Patriots has, frankly, not been great. Like, it hadn't been very good. So
this would be alarming to me as a Pats fan that he might not be sold on Mac Jones. I don't know if he wants to hitch his wagon and he's got a head coaching offer today. Take the head coaching offer.
I think it's a smart move, honestly. But I also thought it would be a smart move.
Also, yeah, I mean, I think he should be a head coach. I think I don't think he's a bad head coach.
No, I
think he'll be fine.
This guy won a playoff game with Tim Tebow at quarterback.
I also believe, by the way, that if Aaron Rodgers takes that Broncos job, holy shit, that division he just stepped into is a mother.
Yes, very, very much so. Very much so.
So I listen. I like Carr. Carr's grown on me, but you better come to fight with something else. Okay.
Yes. He may not need anything else.
You got Justin Herbert, you got Jimmy G, and you got not Jimmy G. You got Patrick Mahomes, and you got Aaron Rodgers, all in the same division, and you're going to fight with Carr.
Yeah, but he got a secret weapon. He got Hunter Renfrow.
I don't know that Hunter doesn't overcome that. Listen, Hunter and I got the same haircut. That's it.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong there. The Giants hired Brian Daboll. Everybody kind of assumed that he was going to go down to Miami.
Why he would take this job over the Miami job is beyond me.
I mean, you're moving right down the street, so maybe location had something to do with it because he's been in Buffalo for quite a while.
I don't know that that's right down the street. I think those are two different worlds.
They are, but it's same state and everything. It is two different worlds, 100%, because New York City is nothing like Buffalo, New York. Yeah. But
so he's accustomed to the high taxes.
But the idea of moving down to Miami, obviously, maybe not obviously. I wonder if Miami just screwed this up by not being ready to jump on this, right? Miami wasn't ready to make their hire, and the Giants were like, we want you, period. At that point, do you just go with the one that you were offered? Like, firsthand, like, I know I'm going to get this job. I got to take this one because I may not be offered the other one.
Well, that could have something to do with it.
Or could it also be that he thinks that Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Tua?
I think the difference is we have enough information where I think he has enough room and leverage to move on from Daniel. He coached Tua, and he knows what Tua can do and what he can't do. And I wonder if he said, I'll take my chances with a rebuild where I get to pick my quarterback.
That's a good point. Yeah.
He saw what Tua was able to do with all the talent that Alabama has, but that talent differential is gone.
Yeah. You're right.
I'm telling you,
right.
I look at Max Jones, I look at Tua, I look at Jalen, and these guys are fine, but there's something to, knowing that the other team's, defensive front is there's a coin flip chance that they're a lot better than your offensive line. You played your entire career without that being true. You had 4 or 5 receivers that were substantially better than any defensive back the other team could throw. You get in the NFL, and that you might have one. You might have one where you have a mismatch if you can line it up properly. Like,
you're not wrong.
That's you play a certain way in college, and then you get into the pros, and it's not that they're bad. It's just you just spent 3 years not really being pushed.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult to figure out, right? It's he did perfectly fine with Jalen Waddle once he came back healthy. Once Tua came back healthy this year, but it is a whole different world. Like it's a completely different world. So
I mean, he wasn't very good at the end of the season.
No,
they went on that run for a minute, and then after that run, which was nothing but just garbage teams.
Yeah, once they played against the Titans,
they're the best win they have is they beat the Pats twice. But that's it.
There's a Dolphins fan on my Twitter timeline, and he just tweeted out and said, Tua looks like the type of guy that tries to start tickle fights.
Not what you want in your quarterback here.
No, you're probably not wrong. You are not wrong. All right, let's by the way, Wisconsin just announced Bobby Ingram is going to be their offensive coordinator. The Caleb Williams stuff apparently is real with Wisconsin because his dad and Bobby Ingram were like best buddies or what, who knows. So we'll see what goes on with that because there's still no news on Caleb Williams as of the time that we recorded this. But either way, is there anything else that you think we need to hit on?
No. Who do you think the Dolphins go after? So we got the Texans job that's still open. We got the Dolphins job. Did the Jaguars actually officially fire the GM and take Leftwich, is that a thing or no?
That one's still not done yet. They're still interviewing guys.
Okay.
I don't know who I think the Dolphins go after.
I've still heard Jim Harbaugh's name coming back up.
Oh yeah. There was a couple of reports out on Saturday or Sunday about that. I mean, the owner has already said he's not going to take Harbaugh. But if Harbaugh says, like, I'm going to the Vikings, or I can go to Miami, which, what do you want? Stephen Ross would be a fool not to take him, I think.
Yeah.
But
the Vikings. I forgot about them. I didn't name them off. Yeah. So we've got a couple of coaching jobs that are still open, and I'm just curious as to who might be taking those.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm looking at a couple of different ones right now. None of these names seem to make any sense to me, right? You look at obviously Harbaugh, but Kellen Moore is I guess the leader in the clubhouse for Miami.
No chance.
Mike McDaniel,
huge mistake.
who is the 49ers offensive coordinator.
I wouldn't want that either.
That's a guy that basically had to learn from Kyle Shanahan.
No, right? I mean, that's a tree that's a tree I wouldn't mind having somebody from, but my thoughts on that. I mean, that stuff worries me. Not that those guys don't ever work out. I mean, look at Zach Taylor. Yeah. Zach Taylor was like the fourth guy that got a job under Sean McVay for a year. So, you're not getting the best guy that worked under him. You're not getting the second best guy. You're getting the fourth best guy that worked under him. It seemed to work out. So it's not that it can't. It's just not the philosophy I like to go.
The Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator Vance Joseph is an option. Doug Peterson, former Eagles coach, is an option.
I'm more curious what the Texans do.
Yeah,
mainly because I thought that was the shittiest firing of all of them.
Yeah,
and then the Vikings, because I think that's there was a world where I kind of thought that Vikings job outside of the Denver job is the best job available.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't know. Something
outside
stinks
of
in
Daboll.
Miami.
I'm gonna tell you this: outside of Daboll, none of the coaches that have been hired so far. If I was one of the teams without a coach, I'm not worried about the coaches that got hired because none of those guys would have been on the list of mine. Now, it could have been wrong. They could all be great. But Brian Daboll is the only piece off the board that I think, man, I'd like to have that piece.
True. I think you're right about that. I do wonder what Doug Peterson could do.
No way.
Rehashed, but we'll see.
I wouldn't touch it.
But yeah, Vance Joseph, obviously we saw what Vance Joseph did as the Jets defensive coordinator. Or no, he was the Jets head coach, wasn't he? Where did Vance Joseph coach?
No, that was Tampa Bay's defensive coordinator. My brain is gone today.
I'm in the same spot. He was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. That's what it was. So yeah, Vance Joseph.
Was he a 1 year guy?
Nope. He was there 2017 and 2018. And he's been the DC for the Cardinals since 2019. So yeah, I mean he was the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins back in 2016. So there is a tie there, I guess. But
Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles was the Jets
That's
coach.
what it was. Yes. So yeah, I saw. Okay, here's what it was. Vance Joseph played for the Jets. Yeah, he played for the Jets in 1995. Okay. So I knew there was some kind of tie because I was going through reading some of this stuff and it mentioned Jets. I was like, oh yeah, he was good. Nope, not him. Either way, let's go and wrap this thing up. Let me go ahead and tell everybody, winning cures everything. Up, and we lost Chris. Boy, this is weird. With that said, yeah, go ahead and check out winningcureseverything.com. Go on and follow us on Twitter. Chris jumped out of the Zoom, so this is interesting. Regardless, go to winningcureseverything.com and subscribe to the podcast if you would so kindly. Share the show out, all that good stuff. Oh, Chris just texted me. His battery just died on his computer. Oh, man. All right, let's end this thing. So, winningcureseverything.com, go to betustv.com, and go to betus.com. That is America's premier online sportsbook. It is where the game begins. So go on and check that out. You guys take care of yourself, take care of each other, and hopefully, all of your tickets cash this week.
Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter.